everybody. Welcome to the IncGamers Podcast, being recorded on April Fool's Day, although when you're listening to it, it won't be April Fool's Day anymore. I'm Pete Parrish. Tim McDonald, you're here. You're excited by Shannon Tweed's Attack of the Groupies. A real game, probably.
I don't know whether excited or bemused is the better word to use.
Horrified.
Alarmed.
Puzzled, certainly. Available on Steam. Tower defense game endorsed by 90s Playboy centerfold and star of every Channel 5 film, Shannon Tweed.
I imagine we'll be talking about this more a bit later on, because this is frankly too good to pass up.
Sure. Paul Younger, hello.
Hello!
Are you excited for Shannon Tweed's Attack of the Groupies?
Oh yes, I've been waiting all year for this one. I can tell Tim's very excited though.
Forget Dark Souls 2, forget Titanfall. This is where the PC is really going to shine with this presumably PC exclusive game, although maybe it was on phones as well, I don't know. Moving on to more April Fool's news. Some wag has said that Facebook bought Oculus, which can't be true. That must be some sort of April Fool's, I imagine.
It's true!
What? No, come on. It couldn't be. That would be ludicrous that Facebook would spend $2 billion buying Oculus.
It would be ludicrous that Oculus would accept to be bought for $2 billion, because that seems like a frankly fairly small amount compared to what they're probably going to be worth in a couple of years.
Oh, well, this is an interesting angle. Actually, I suppose we should say that it's not really $2 billion, because it was $400 million and $1.6 billion in stock, which of course is kind of pretend money. Until you cash it out, I guess, then it's real. But Tim, you're confident Oculus are going to be worth squillions of bazillions in the future?
Well, not now that Facebook bought them.
Oh right, they were going to be, but
I kind of get the feeling if they carried on the way they were going, then I suspect they would have been able to build up enough of a foothold. They probably would have been worth significantly more. I think that $2 billion is kind of getting them rather cheaply. The question, though, is because of what a PR nightmare this has been, has that actually just shot everything in the foot?
Let's start with this, I guess, because when it was announced, it was a bit of a surprise, and the reaction was not 100% negative, but certainly quite highly negative in a lot of ways. Partly, I guess, down to people's reactions to how they feel about Facebook as a company.
It's evil.
It is evil.
Allegedly.
Like us on Facebook. Maybe... Yes, hypocrisy reigns here in the IncGamers Podcast.
That's what I find hilarious about it, was that everyone who was complaining about it were using Facebook logins to complain about it.
Yeah. You've got to at least be self-aware about this, guys. Come on. Facebook, the company, separate from Facebook, the page, the site, of course, in the sense of that they are two different things, but... I know. There was a very emotional response to this, which I think I can understand, because Oculus obviously was a Kickstarter, kind of people-funded. It was going to be a scrappy little technology company that was going to bring back VR, and it was having some sort of reasonable relationship with Valve. It was very games-focused. It seemed kind of pure, I suppose, is a kind of nebulous term for that. And then, the big old corporate behemoth comes in and throws its money around and reminds us all that to get anything done in this world, you have to kneel before our new elite, our new rich aristocrats, the technology elite. And I think most people were kind of viscerally kind of disappointed by that, It wasn't a kind of... If another company had bought them, you might have thought, ooh, I wonder... what exciting things they're going to do with this money. But when Facebook buys them, you think, oh shit, what the hell is Facebook going to do with this? Fucking hell.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that they've gone through 2 rounds of venture capital funding.
Yes.
So they'd already had, quite a lot of money pumped into the company. So, but that wasn't buying it, that they still had it. And this is what's different. And now that Mr. Facebook, Mr. Zuckerberg's involved, it's like, oh, holy shit, it's just going to be about selling advertising and social media, and whereas the Oculus has always been sold as a something that was going to push gaming forwards into a new dimension, and now everyone's going, oh look, it's going to push ad space into a new dimension.
and I mean, it still could be that, you know, it still could be this. I mean, okay, so the fact that we have Oculus now has a large amount of money, that is factually true, which you would imagine would help them reduce production costs and be able to distribute and all the sorts of things that money enables you to do as a company. The kind of unknown is, yes, they're saying that they'll remain independent of Facebook, but because very few people trust that company, we're kind of thinking, are you really going to be? But then that's you know, we don't know that. That's the part we don't know.
Do you know what should have happened? Do you know who should have bought Oculus? And this, I think this would have pleased everyone.
Shannon Tweed?
Sorry?
Shannon Tweed?
No, but that's not a bad idea either. No, I was just thinking this would actually keep it within the gaming sphere.
Okay.
It would be crowdfunded, kickstarted. It should have been Chris Roberts. That should have been one of the stretch goals for Star Citizen. I'll buy Oculus VR.
41 million this week, guys. 41 million.
That's nowhere near being enough to afford Oculus, though, is it?
Actually, while we're actually on that subject, let's just touch on a couple of things on the fallout, which was obviously Notch, Marcus person coming out and basically saying that Minecraft would not be going to the Oculus because I think his quote was along the lines of like, he didn't trust Facebook.
He found it creepy, I think is what he said.
Yeah, found it creepy and didn't trust them, which I thought was quite interesting. And he was then accused of taking his ball and going home by Cliffy B, who, they were short of a bit of controversy. So they had a bit of a war of words. And then yesterday,
it wasn't a war of words. It was incredibly polite and diffused within one tweet.
No, it wasn't, Tim. It went on for days. But having said that, we have a quote from Chris Roberts yesterday while we're on the subject of Star Citizen, saying that he thinks it's great and it's the best thing that could happen since sliced bread, which is not surprising considering that they've put VR support for Oculus inside Star Citizen. He's either going to come out and go, it's shocking, we're going to remove it.
He did also then, in the same statement, have to reassure people that he wasn't going to sell Star Citizen. Sort of said, look, we don't need that kind of. Well, we already have enough investment, effectively. Although,
We've
please
got
give us
more money than we know what to do with.
Yeah.
We've run out of stretch goals, and you're still throwing cash at us.
It was interesting because he sort of finished that up by saying, "Oh, I've been involved with large multinational corporations before, and I'm never doing that again." So on the one hand, he was saying, "Oh, it's great for Oculus," but on the other, he was saying, "I would never do that kind of deal. Holy shit, that was terrible for me."
Well, I think I put in the news post yesterday that if it does happen, someone like EA suddenly steps in and buys Cloud Imperium, that I'll refer everyone back to that post.
You know what? This isn't exactly games related, but I did love the fact that a lot of the major news sites ran a story like yesterday, I think it was, that Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, his salary has dropped to $1, and isn't this amazing? And then as a footnote at the bottom of the story, it mentions that he made $3.3 billion last year from shares.
Yeah, I'll drop my salary to $1 if I can have that kind of share return.
Fuck it, I'll work for free.
In fact, I'll pay someone else. Going quickly back to the fact that Oculus did have investment previously, it was kind of interesting that one of the investments that they got in, I think, December, they got sort of like 75 million or so from a venture capital firm owned by, oh man, I've forgotten his name, a guy called Mark Andreessen or something like that, and I think something like that. But he is also on the board of Facebook, so it's kind of probably worked out quite well for him. He did a little bit of investment in Oculus and then had a word with his Facebook friends, and then that probably paid off quite nicely for him.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say something else about this. Oh yeah, I mean, there's another story today, which I don't think we've posted yet, but there's another Valve employee jumped ship today. To go to Oculus, who was working on Valve's VR.
No, Michael Abrash.
No, there's another one today. I think it's the second or third.
All right.
I think it was on Game of Sutra. I'm not sure. I basically had to go and make dinner, so I didn't get a chance to look at it. But it's interesting that basically, Valve done a lot of the legwork on making a VR amazing, apparently, and then all of a sudden, everyone's moving over to Oculus.
Yeah. That is the other. There's a lot that's happened with this in the last 6 or 7 days, isn't there? So Abrash and a couple of others have moved over to take the Oculus and Facebook shilling.
What I would have liked to have happened was something akin to what happened with E3 was last year with the Xbox One pricing and all of that controversy, and Sony basically cleaning up from that. Was that last year or the year before? I can't even remember.
No, last year.
I would have liked, since Sony recently announced their own VR thing for the PlayStation 4, the Morpheus or whatever it's called, what they should have done is, right after this, they should have announced, we're bringing ours to PC as well.
And
Once
it's going to be
again,
really
Sony
cheap.
basically wins by not being shit.
Well, actually, that's a good segue into bringing up something else that happened in the VR sector on Friday, which was this True Player Gear has come out with a device called the Totem, which apparently they've been working on for 9 years, and they've decided to reveal their VR headset now on the back of the fallout from people's reaction to the Oculus, the Facebook Oculus acquisition. It was kind of taken on board with quite a lot of skepticism for when it was revealed at the weekend, and mainly, I think the main issue with this is because it's cross-platform. So what they're saying is, look, you can run it on your PC, your Xbox, and your PlayStation, and everyone's like, "Whoa, that's that's a bit of a game changer, really. You can buy one product if you use multiple platforms, whatever. You can use it on all of them." We know the technology that's involved in this looks pretty good. They haven't shown the latest. I think it's the 5th iteration that they're just putting together now to show at E3. So they're frantically working away on that. But it looks interesting. They do say that it is going to be probably a little bit more expensive than the Rift, which I think is currently sitting at $350. But it does have extra bits and bobs in it that will differentiate it from the Rift, cross-platform obviously being one of them. But they also have cameras on the outside of the thing, so that you can basically it's like pass through, so you'll be able to maybe do augmented reality and things like that. So quite interesting, but they're keeping quite quiet about it. We will actually have an interview up with them hopefully this week. I've fired a whole bunch of questions over to try and find out more, but they're hoping to get the Kickstarter going for that this summer, and it's called Totem. That's maybe not the final name. It's kind of like a sort of little testy name. I think it's based on something in Inception. Not that I can remember Inception very much, the film. So that's going to kickstart, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle that based on what's happened with the people who are upset with the Oculus Rift kickstart. Because it's kind of going to be a similar thing. But it kind of makes you wonder, were they thinking when they saw the Oculus and the Facebook acquisition, thinking, shit, I wish we'd come out and announced this sooner. Then someone might have come in with a big lump of cash and invested in what we're doing. But they're going to Kickstarter, and I think they're going to try and have a dev kit out by the end of this year. So they're a bit behind the curve as far as Oculus is concerned about getting a consumer version to market. But it's certainly interesting that there's now another player in the field, and people are sitting up and taking notice now because of what's happened with Oculus and Facebook.
There are so many things I want to say about this.
Go.
To begin, well, let's start off with the price. I mean, you mentioned that it will be a bit more expensive than the Oculus, and the Oculus is priced at $350. If I recall correctly, that's the dev kit pricing. The actual system is supposed to be cheaper.
Yeah, but they haven't given a price, but they do say it will likely be more expensive.
Yeah.
So
more expensive than the Oculus, or more expensive than the Oculus dev kit currently is?
No, more expensive than the Oculus.
Okay.
I'm sure as soon as Facebook finds some nice safety regulating, dodging Chinese factories to mass produce Oculus in, then that price will come down.
What else? Oh yeah, and they've been working on this for 9 years, so it's going to have to connect to a PC via a SCSI adapter. It's going to have a maximum resolution of like 320 by 200.
They say 9 years, and it actually makes a lot of sense because, from what I've been reading about this, effectively one of the things that they were experimenting with was, I think, using a 45-degree FOV, which obviously once they'd seen the Oculus and what could be done, they realised that the kind of road that they were going down, that wasn't necessarily the best way. So they've made iterations and changes to the system continuously throughout the years as technology's got better. If we look at, I've got one here, which is the very old VFX1, which is from the mid-90s. That
not looking that much different though.
No, I mean it's the same.
Not massively.
No, I mean it's actually a really, really comfortable to wear this. Really comfortable because the top of your head takes all the weight, and your headphones are all built in, and you've just got your two optics which are basically adjustable. But this had I think it was maybe 42 degree FOV, so you did get motion sick and stuff quite easily on it. But this has all the head tracking built in. I mean, it's all actually built into the unit, which is very
cool.
Quite
a visual segment for anyone listening.
Yeah, sorry, I'm holding this up, but yeah, I mean, if you turned your head like this, it did track your head movements. It was very, very cool, and that is from 1997. So you can see it. We've kind of gone full circle. We're kind of back at this, but with better visuals.
Yeah. Well, hang on, 97. Actually, think about it. 9 years ago was only like 2005, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh Christ!
I feel old.
But you have to remember between this product and that period of time, there was nothing else on the market. This didn't take off. This was $1,000. So it was just way too pricey for gamers back then.
Price point is going to be a large part of this, I think. I'm not entirely surprised by the fact that they're marketing it as something that can also work on the Xbox and the PlayStation, if only because that does kind of seem to be more of a... I mean, you get third-party peripherals for consoles anyway. That's not a big thing. The problem is games being developed to work to those specifications because, I mean, I know from using the Oculus Rift that depending on the headset you're using, depending on the way that it processes the information and displays it, you do have to set it up kind of specifically to work for that peripheral. So whether that actually works on the consoles kind of comes down to whether any developers think that it's worth developing for it on the consoles.
Actually, just wanted to talk a little bit, actually, go back to Totem quickly, because it's something that interests me, mainly because my eyes are completely shot. I have Kerry Katona eyes, as I've already told you before. In other words, I can't ever get 20/20 vision with glasses. So it's basically my cornea is it's cone shaped. It's not flat. So, but one of the things they've done with this is they say that you can actually use it without glasses. So the focus will be completely adjustable.
I think you can do that with the Oculus.
Well, you could do. But probably not. For me, it probably wouldn't be great.
No, they've got they've got multiple lenses.
Yeah, this doesn't. Yeah, this
slot in or out depending on the type of vision you have. I think.
Yeah, I think this is different. It's all. I really haven't got enough information on it, but it is all built in. So there's no.
That's what we're hoping to find out.
Yeah, there's no lens malarkey going on, but it's interesting. It really sounds like they've really thought about it. I really want to find out more. Hopefully we will.
Will people kickstart it though without assurances or like some sort of later investment opportunity or something?
Well, it's one of the questions I've asked them, so we'll see what they say.
I think Kickstarter for the moment doesn't allow you to offer like shares and stuff, so they can't literally do that route, but they might. I guess we're kind of wrapping up this segment a bit, but does anyone else think, while the Kickstarter people for Oculus, they went in knowing that they weren't investing, etc., they weren't going to get a return on their money, but given that Oculus now have $2 fucking billion, I feel like it might be not unreasonable to, at the very least, refund the original Kickstarter backers, or reward them in some way, just out of the goodness of the human spirit. I realise that's not a very smart business move necessarily, but ethically it seems reasonable.
If it wasn't Facebook that bought them, I would say that might be a possibility.
I think basically what the best thing that they could probably do was maybe offer people who had backed enough for a dev kit to get a consumer version.
Yeah.
At least. Then,
surely they're going to throw them something, because it just seems like right now they're a little hung out to dry. Again, they got what they funded in some respects, but in others, kind of not so much. So yeah, we'll see where that goes, and we'll see what road Facebook takes this. I mean, of course, on the same day that they were announcing that everything was going to be totally fine and independent, Mr. Zuckerberg was in a conference call with his shareholders going, ads, monetization, ads everywhere. Which, of course, is what he has to say to his shareholders. But it's kind of like each party was saying what they felt they had to say. Oculus was saying to its gamer friends, hey, everything's cool. And Zuckerberg was saying to his shareholders, this is an amazing purchase. We're going to be gazillionaires, everybody.
Yeah, you've kind of got to wonder who's lying the most.
Yeah.
That's kind of the question.
Probably not both true, but they might both be a bit true. I'm not sure. Anyway, we talked a lot about Oculus, but that's because it was kind of the main thing this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, bored of that now. What else?
What else? Well, Namco Bandai, or FromSoft, or both, have taken down some Dark Souls.
Bandai Namco.
Bandai Namco, Namco Bandai, Bandai Namco, Bandam have taken down a few of the Dark Souls 2 PC version images from Steam, and they were the images that related to older builds of the game that were being shown at various trade shows and in previews and stuff like that, which had a bit nicer lighting and graphics. So now the screenshots that are left look a lot closer to the console version, albeit in 1080p. And so the hopes that the PC version was going to be substantially visually different are probably unfounded, at least until modders, Mr. Durante gets his hands on it, and then it might look a bit nicer again. But
no, I think you're just being pessimistic, fear-mongering Daily Mail reader.
You think? Yeah. There was some. Yeah. There were some people put comments to that effect on my story, and I thought, well, why have they taken these pictures down then? That's kind of like, and the person who said, oh, they took them down because they're areas of the game that have changed and like aren't in it anymore and stuff. Yeah, no, they are. Those areas of the game are still in the game. They just look worse. That's why they've changed. They don't look as good anymore. The route up to the Mirror Knight boss that was shown up, that's still there. He's still in it. It just doesn't look as good anymore.
I think someone said, oh, but it's all in the videos or something. And I'm thinking, man, if there's anything worse than to get an impression of a game, it's a video that's been released by a publisher.
Some of the videos do still have those shots from those builds in, I think, yeah. But I mean, I guess what I don't know is whether they were just small demo builds that were shown off specifically, for trade shows and stuff. Because while they are segments that are in the game, they were all showing like the same 3 or 4 bits. So it's kind of hard to say whether they had this full-on lighting engine in the whole game that they then had to remove to get frame rates happy on the consoles, or whether they never had the whole game looking like that. We don't know. But it kind of seems like the upshot is the PC one is going to look like a nicer resolution, better frame rate version of the console release, which is, well, in comparison to the first Dark Souls port, that's pretty damn good, actually.
All right, well, even if it doesn't have the new amazing lighting and so on and so forth, I imagine it's still going to look fairly nice if it's higher resolution, higher frame rate, higher resolution textures.
Yeah, which it supposedly is, all of those things.
Yeah, and I imagine it will still look rather nice regardless.
But Tim, that's not the point. The point is it was there and now it's not. Rage!
No. What's happening is I'm talking about one thing and you're talking about something else, Paul.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's removed. Rage!
It might have. Well, who knows? It might have been removed if it was ever there in the first place, beyond tech demos or playable preview demos and stuff. Yeah, it is still a pretty nice looking game. There's some areas, as there were in the first Dark Souls, where it looks a little bit rough. I mean, if you recall Lost Izalith from the first Dark Souls, where there was searing lava everywhere and the monsters were like undead dragon butts that were trying to stamp on you.
That area was just shit.
It was atrocious. Yeah.
Like, I'm not even talking from a graphical perspective. It was rubbish to play through. That was such a crap area.
I don't think there's anywhere as bad as that in Dark Souls 2, but there are certain bits of certain areas where it's like, ooh, those trees look a bit ropey in the distance there. That skybox is a bit rubbish. But I mean,
You've told me about the spiders already. I know which is going to be my least favourite area.
The spiders are great. The spiders are beautifully animated. They, they drop down.
That's not a good thing.
They drop down behind you and on your head and scuttle across the floor amazingly well.
Actually, speaking of spiders, actually, I was outside having a cigarette the other night about 2 in the morning, and I felt this thing on my hand, and I just looked down. There was a massive spider falling from somewhere up my hand, and I just kind of freaked out.
Jesus.
Thought of Tim immediately.
God, I fucking hate you.
Yeah, Tim put it there just to spite you. Actually, no, that would mean he would have touched a spider, which is very unlikely. So yeah, Dark Souls 2, slightly less fancy graphics than anticipated, but just as many spiders as anticipated.
You know what I hope? I hope that it looks really bad on PC. I hope that it looks so bad that I can't tell the spiders are spiders.
Oh. If it's another shit port, though, man, such a quandary, because it's seriously one of the best games of the year. But if it's another lousy port, that is going to be taking the piss slightly.
Even if it's, as with the first one, it's fixed within a day by the user base.
Well, if it's fixed, well, yeah, in that case, pragmatically speaking, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, April 25th for Dark Souls 2 on PC. What else this week? Runic Games, the co-founders of Runic Games, have left Runic Games, Paul. Is this correct?
Yes, well, apparently
with other projects.
Apparently they've gone to create a smaller studio, and I was speaking to someone the other day saying, well, how you can't really make a smaller studio than Runic Games, otherwise they'll be working inside a cupboard.
I guess it's just going to be them. It's just going to be the two of them.
I think what's interesting about this really is that one, Torchlight was really kind of like a tech demo. Torchlight 2 took things a lot further. But I've always kind of felt that Torchlight was a very sort of throwaway franchise for them, and indeed, the next game is not a Torchlight game. So it's kind of felt that the company's been built on that almost testing technology. But the two guys that have left is Travis Baldry and Eric Schaefer. Eric Schaefer is the guy that does all the magic with item statistics and items, and he did in the Diablo series as well. So he was he's pretty pivotal to getting the item stats, and I mean he was a spreadsheet guy. He loved it. Yeah. He loved his numbers, and he was very, very good at his job. So he's gone, which is a bit of a loss, really. So it kind of indicates to me that maybe the next game that they do isn't going to be so ARPG focused. I don't know. And I'm not really sure what Travis kind of, I think is a bit of a sort of jack of all trades really on the thing, kind of led the thing for Torchlight. So they've disappeared. But it's the first time that Max Schaefer, who is his brother, who have not worked together for years. They worked obviously at Blizzard together. Then they moved on to, what's the Flagship Studios, and then on to Runic, and then now that they've parted company. So it's quite interesting. It's all very amicable apparently. There's no problem with it. It's just they've wanted to go off and do something different. But Max Schaefer is still at Runic.
They've probably just gone over to Irrational.
No, Tim.
They recently put everybody down to make the smallest studio possible.
Yeah. They've done a Ken, and they've done, as it will now be known.
doing a Levine, yes. Something else which So it's sort of news and sort of just a public service announcement is that EA are giving away Dead Space on Origin until early May sometime. So if you want a copy of Dead Space and you don't mind having an Origin account or already have one, then there you go.
And
you can have one for free.
And just as a bit of a segue on that, they've also announced this week that they're now not going to be selling full retail copies through Origin. It's all digital now.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even know you could buy retail.
No, I was going to say the exact same thing. I had no idea you could still do that.
Well, apparently so. Apparently there are people not living inside the digital age, and they like to have.
And how did they use Origin to buy them?
Well, I think a lot of people who did it basically had shit net connections, so they didn't want to download all the stuff, so they could just order it and then get it shipped.
Yeah, but Origin
is like the post office. Is this like the post office putting out an announcement that you can't send telegrams anymore? Or
pretty much, yeah.
Magic though, the Titanfall for you is loading at like triple the speed that your internet connection can actually cope with. Or at least that's what it claimed.
That was because that was a weird one. That was because it was listing the total install size, but it was going through the speed of the download size. Like only 50% of the bar there was the download size.
Right, okay.
And the rest of it was the install or something ridiculous like that. So yeah, it appeared to be downloading at about 3 or 4 times what my internet connection could actually handle. Because it was also factoring in the install.
So what we're saying here is that don't pay any attention to your Origin download speed because it lies.
It's a little bit misleading, yeah. It'll probably be going about as fast as you expect.
It was actually quite good because it was sat there going, oh yeah, 50, you need to download 50 gigs. And then it started downloading really, really fast. So it actually kind of worked out all right. I was prepared that it was going to take me sort of the best part of a day, and it took a few hours.
Very nice, very nice. I think that's the news, guys. And unless
Star Citizen 41 million. Woo!
Peter, we haven't talked about the game.
Shannon Tweed's. I don't know what else to say about Shannon Tweed's.
There is a game called just released on Steam called Shannon Tweed's Attack of the Groupies. This is released on April 1st, and yet, as far as I can tell, it appears to be real. What the fuck is going on?
Steam has some quality control problems. That's what's going on. That's what's going on there.
Tim, what's it priced? And have you bought a copy?
It's 15% off at the moment. It's £3.39, and no, not yet. Though I'm sorely tempted just to find out if it's real.
You're
just over here.
Tim's just trying to get the podcast over so he can quickly get his wallet out.
The groupies have invaded and Shannon Tweed has had enough. Cougars, slugs, beauty queens and bimbos, they all want a shot at the fame that comes with getting a rock star. These groupies are relentless and Shannon isn't going to back down without a fight. Join her in her battle to stop crazed groupies from getting her man. And her man is capitalised.
Excellent. Hey,
what the hell?
Actually, going on, you can fill me in on this because I just caught this a minute ago. What's this Blood Dragon stuff again? April 1st.
Yeah, basically the guy Dean Evans, who was the creative director on Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, tweeted a thing about just an image, basically, sort of saying the Blood Dragon sound. They're doing like a limited edition vinyl thing for Record Store Day, which is a thing in the US that's going to be available in April. And in the background, like conveniently placed on the desktop wallpaper, is Blood Dragon 3 Vietnam War 2, which would be amazing if it was real. And yeah, the first Blood Dragon was announced on April 1st and kind of put it along with everyone thinking, oh, it's just an April Fool's thing, which then turned out to be real. So I don't know if this is just some elaborate fan art, because Vietnam War 2 is mentioned in Blood Dragon. It's part of the canon, everybody. Part of the lore. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is real. It is slightly coincidental that it's happening on April 1st again, and it is kind of prominently placed behind the guy. But I don't know.
This is what I like to see. I like to see April Fool stuff, and you really don't know whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
Because this could honestly go either way.
Yeah, no, I can. Well, after Blood Dragon did really well, they definitely talked about sort of sequel possibilities and stuff. So, you know, a year on, I would not be surprised to see some sort of Blood Dragon sequel. And if there were to be one, it would probably be called Blood Dragon 3 Vietnam War 2. So, take from that what you will. We may or may not hear more about that, either to confirm that it's real or the director going, actually, no, sorry, it's not. So on to games that are real and that came out and stuff. Paul, have you been playing more Diablo, Reaper of Souls 3, The Revenge of the Crusader?
Yeah, I'm just getting my review ready to rock. But yeah, I've been playing quite a lot, actually. We've done all the bounties, which is a new thing in the game, which is effectively part of adventure mode, which allows you to go around the game world, any act, and take on challenges for things called blood shards, which you can then use to gamble for better stuff, and lots of other cool items which you pick up by completing these bounties. So I've been running through that with Ellie. In fact, I think I did about one session, went up about 8 levels. We were really ploughing through it, and I'm really quite enjoying it, actually. I kind of feel the game has been revitalized. I definitely think the itemization is much better than it was before. I've not finding it tedious. I kind of think everything they've done has kind of restored my faith in the game, and it is actually replayable. And I think that's the main thing. It's the replayability of the game, which was the problem with the original release. So yeah. I'm really pleased with the way it is. I still think it's pricey for what it is. I'm going to finish off the review shortly, but I need to spend some time with the new Crusader class. But so far, yeah, if you haven't picked it up, I probably would. I'll go as far to say now, before we put the review up, I would pick it up. It's if you've put Diablo 3 down, you thought, oh, that's done, that's a dead franchise. Well, no, it's not. Actually, go and get this. I think you'll be pleased with it. Of course, if you haven't got Diablo 3 and you want all the good stuff, you're going to have to buy the original at 16 quid and then the 32 quid expansion. So it's expensive to get the full whack if you're just joining it for the first time. But there you go. But yeah, I've been playing that, and I've been pretty much enjoying that.
What about if you liked Diablo 3 and thought that Diablo 2 was actually really tedious and repetitive?
Okay, so what you're saying is you prefer Diablo 3 over Diablo 2?
To some extent.
Well, then you can just get
out
to just leave.
You'll be happy with the base game, I guess.
Diablo 3 was kind of entertaining. I went through it 1.5 times, I think, maybe twice. And Diablo 2, I got really bored about halfway through.
No, see, there's two types of Diablo players. There's the guy who wants to play it for 10 years, and there's a guy who just wants to run through it twice and then go on the next thing. Yep. That's the way it is. That's life. Everyone's different.
That doesn't answer my question, Paul.
Well, there you go. Well, you're part of that group that just likes to play it for a bit and then piss off to the next game.
Then you probably don't need the expansion because you're probably done with Diablo. So there you go. That's my answer to that question. Having not played it at all.
I'm not sure whether that makes sense or not.
Yeah, it makes perfectly logical sense. It makes perfectly logical sense, Tim. Have a think about it. Go to your cupboard and sit in the corner in the dark and have a good think about it.
It is kind of paradoxical, yeah, saying if you enjoyed it the first time through, don't get the expansion. But if the expansion changes it significantly to the point where you may no longer enjoy it as much, then
I think the point
I
think the point is here with the change in personnel directing this game, it has gone in the direction it should have gone the first time round, which I'll discuss in the review a little bit. But
gone in the direction that you lot think it should have gone the first time.
No, it's the direction it should have gone the first time round, whether you were going to just play it once through or not. You put it this way, you would find it a lot. You would
recommend this to someone like me then?
Yeah, you'd find it a lot more rewarding if you were playing it now. Okay. You wouldn't.
For the first time around, it'll be even better now. Is actually
exactly.
I mean, the first time around, I mostly just quite enjoyed playing around with skills, having giant laser beams shooting out of my arse, and that was quite good fun. I wasn't too fussed about the loot system. I completely ignored the auction house. I was mostly playing it because I was quite enjoying smashing things.
It's even easier to ignore the overchance now because it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Well, now you can pick up stuff like items that actually do stuff. Like, I mean, Ellie was showing me a pair of boots that she found earlier, and it actually leaves a fire trail. The item leaves a fire trail behind it. It's actually like a skill, and the mods will take damage as they chase you.
Okay, that's quite cool.
So there's things like that the actual items do stuff now.
Yeah, I don't care so much about things with slightly higher numbers on them. I got very bored with that shit in MMOs. But yeah, if they have slightly more active or even passive abilities like that, then that's quite cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is definitely an absolute step in the right direction. Of course, there's more to come. We've got ladders coming, and we've got these things called something rifts. I can't remember because my brain's gone dead. But lots. And ladders. That's right. Go and get a ladder. Go and stand in front of a ladder.
Is the story is the story as abominably shit and horribly written as Diablo 3's was?
Yeah, probably.
Because that is possibly one of the worst stories in video games.
Yeah, probably. Ever. There's been a few cringeable moments in the dialogue in the expansion, I have to say. In fact, it's a bit, I don't want to be a spoiler, but anyway, the boss fight at the very end of the game, I was just about laughing at some of the dialogue because it was really getting on my tits.
Look, hidden footprints. Look, hidden footprints. Look, hidden footprints. Look, hidden footprints. Look,
yeah,
hidden
maybe
footprints.
Not quite as bad as that, but not far off it.
That's my only experience with Diablo 3 is look, hidden footprints. That's the whole game as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of shooting laser beams out your ass, Tim, you've been playing Smite.
Oh yeah, what a terrible segue there. Terrible.
Come on.
That was an amazing segue.
That's not bad. It would have been better if it had been lightning bolts out your ass, but it's pretty good. Come on.
Yeah, I have. It's quite good. I wrote a lot about it with my usual split personality, which is about the only way I've found that I can talk about MOBAs.
Yeah, we need to have a talk about this, Tim. I think maybe you need to seek some professional help.
We have had a talk about this. You told me that you don't exist.
Oh yeah, that probably wasn't very helpful.
Yeah,
for the therapeutic healing process, was it?
It was quite confusing. Now, you know the worst thing about you telling me that you're just a figment of my imagination, though, is that now I'm sat wondering what the podcast sounds like to everyone else. Like, if it is that would possibly explain. You know, is it just me talking to myself in different voices?
Yes.
Pretty much. There's massive 5-minute gaps of silence, and then just you talking, and then another 5 minutes.
It's effectively like those sequences in a Stuart Lee stand-up routine where he pretends to be on the phone to someone, and he's kind of doing that for about 20 minutes. That's what it is, Tim. It's you pretending to be on a podcast with someone else, and through what you're saying, people get the context of what I'm saying. And yeah, there we go.
So basically, what the listeners have pretty much just heard me giggling for the past 30 seconds while you were actually explaining to me. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this is so good. I'm just going to pretend this discussion never happened. It's the only way I can carry on with these podcasts.
Maybe for the 200th episode, we'll just have to do exactly that, and we'll just record Tim only.
This is the April Fool's episode. We probably should have already done it, but never mind. So would you recommend people just read your article about Smite then, Tim?
Pretty much, yeah. It's, I talked most of what I can say. I kind of put in there. It's a good, fun little game. It's not a typical MOBA. Obviously, having some experience with how Dota or League of Legends or whatever works will help. But yeah, there's enough of kind of a third-person shooter in there as well to make it feel a little bit different, a little bit more interesting. I've played more Conquest mode since I wrote that, which is kind of the traditional MOBA 5-on-5 lanes, towers pushing thing. And yeah, that's quite good fun. It seems a lot more chaotic and a lot less ordered than most other MOBAs I've played, although that might just be because I'm still really new at it and I'm playing with other people who are also extremely new at it, so nobody's screaming at me. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. It's not the sort of thing that's really... It's not becoming a rapid obsession or anything, but it's the sort of thing I can dive in, I can do a couple of games, you know, every couple of days, and yeah, it's holding my interest reasonably well. And it's free. And the free-to-play stuff isn't hugely offensive, so that helps.
Well, no, I was also pleased to see that they have a pretty sensible, if you like this game, pricing model, which is that it costs about 20 quid to get everything, or 21 quid or something similar.
Yeah, except the cosmetic stuff, which I think you can still buy with the in-game currency.
But you get all the playable characters.
Which is good. I really wish more free-to-play games would do that.
I hate this free-to-play thing where you pay. You can play it for free, but if you spend $120 with us, you can get everything. Yeah. It's like,
what? But why is that twice as much as the normal game? That makes no sense.
I mean, I can deal with microtransactions, but I prefer there to be another option there. Like Smite, okay, I'm really enjoying the game, so yeah, I probably would pay 20 quid to just unlock everything out of the gate rather than unlocking things piecemeal with in-game stuff and maybe spending real money to buy 4 or 5 of the 50 gods. Yeah. You know, I'd much rather just say pay 20 quid and get everything. You know, pay slightly less than most other games and, you know, get a game. That sounds good.
This seems to be high-res's kind of mode of operating, doesn't it? Because they did the same with Tribes Ascend, pretty much. Where
did they do that with Tribes Ascend on launch, or was that a bit later on?
I think it was later. I think you could sort of buy a pack through Steam or something. Which basically got you, well, different layers of stuff, but you could basically get everything, or relatively everything, aside from a few cosmetic things for one price, which is quite good.
That's what I like to see. If you want to go a free-to-play model, then fair enough, but I'm the age of gamer where I actually like paying for an entire product at once, and I don't mean paying 300 quid.
Yeah, exactly. Good, alright, excellent. I have been playing a couple of games which have some similarities, actually, because I've been playing Cloudbuilt, which is a 3D parkour-based platformer, and I've been playing the beta of Trials Fusion, which is a 2D side-scrolling bike game, but...
Are the similarities just that both games make you swear a lot at your screen? Heated and frustrating.
In a way, yes. In the sense that they are both games which urge sort of replaying of the same stages. The aim is not so much just to get through as to get through with a good time, and then to do it again and to beat that time and do it again and again and again. Now Trials Fusion isn't like fully out yet, but I would say I enjoyed the Trials Fusion approach more than the Cloudbuilt one, and I've been trying to sort of think why that was and why Cloudbuilt didn't. While it's a game I kind of admire, it's not one I really particularly enjoyed, and I think that's because they shoved a lot of guns in it, and I was a bit disappointed by that. You have the pure parkouring bits at times, but there's also a shitload of turrets everywhere and like drones chasing you and things shooting at you constantly. And while that's okay, it's kind of complex enough getting the parkour right. And maybe this is why I prefer Trials, because it sticks to a very simple control model, really. You know, you have accelerate, brake, and lean on your bike, and that's basically it. Whereas with Cloudbuilt, probably because it's in like full 3D, you have you have a double jump, you have a boost, you have different types of wall running that are dependent on what angle your camera is facing the wall at. So if you're sort of dead on, you'll do a vertical one, and if you're kind of diagonal, you can do a horizontal wall run, which is all very well, but if you're trying to do that while being shot at by about 3 things at once, and you slightly cock up your angle of approach to a wall because you've just dodged 3 projectiles, you start to think, you know what, this is a little bit beyond challenging and towards being a bit just annoying and frustrating. And while I could get through all the levels with a slowish time, I kind of didn't really want to replay them because they were just kind of annoying. And now some people are really obviously dead into the game because they're kind of A ranking and S ranking the levels, and I can totally see how some people would find Cloudbuilt would do it for them and would have the kind of platforming savant skills necessary to get through it. And I don't know, it's really good in that it offers you different paths through the levels, so you can occasionally avoid some of this stuff, but usually it's just, oh well, there's a different obstacle for you to go if you take this route. And it kind of seems like, yes, you can take it slow to take out the turrets and the projectiles and stuff, but if you do that, it kind of isn't really a fun free-flowing parkour game anymore. It's a kind of slow stop-start third-person shooter, except not very good. So you want to be doing the parkouring stuff, but to do that is extremely challenging right off the bat, and it didn't encourage me to improve my skills sufficiently to reach the point where I'd be able to get through the level, which I realise sounds a bit like me going, oh, it's too hard, so I gave up. But you know, the game's got to work with you if it's going to be that challenging at the same time. You know, there's got to be a bit of give and take.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how I would find it, honestly. It does sort of sound like it's my type of game, but there again, I've got a slightly weird threshold when it comes to stuff like that, and there's a very narrow edge in terms of making a game that's difficult but not frustrating. Or that if it is frustrating, it's frustrating in a good way. Like Super Meat Boy is pretty much the perfect example. The levels are short, the respawn times are instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's very, very good at that. It makes it difficult to get too frustrated.
I mean, I think that's maybe part of the problem. In Cloudbuilt, there's basically like one checkpoint about halfway through the level, usually. So if you screw up, you've got to redo a lot. Which again, to sort of contrast it with Trials, you know, there's checkpoints everywhere in Trials, and while you aren't going to get the gold medal, obviously, if you've screwed up a couple of times, you're never being like, oh, all the way back to the beginning of the level for you. If you're doing that, it's out of choice, because you know you want to retry it and do it again and do it better. So yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. That it's sort of it's making you redo a lot of segments, which can wear on you if you aren't terrifically enjoying those segments. Where if you are, then it's not going to be a problem. But you know, I guess to bring up Dark Souls again, that's what that does. You have to go through massive segments again and again. But I don't know,
that can get really annoying, even in Dark Souls.
It can.
The worst I find actually is when you keep dying to a boss and the last bonfire is about a 1 or 2 minute walk away.
Yeah.
You know, even if there's no challenging encounters along the way or anything, it's just the trudge to have another 20-second attempt at something that will kill you flat very quickly.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. So yeah, Cloudbuilt, I like it. I admire it in a lot of ways. It does look gorgeous and it has a great soundtrack. It's one of those that didn't really click with me, and I think that when you're reviewing a game, it's a little bit disingenuous to kind of go like, well, hypothetically, a lot of people will think this is brilliant, so I'm going to give it a high score because I kind of haven't enjoyed it, so I have to reflect my own experience.
That's fair enough. I tend to find that if you ever find yourself describing a game as something that you admire, then that's kind of you admitting that it's quite good, it's just not good for you.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
It's like, objectively you can see the worth in it, but subjectively you don't enjoy it.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I didn't, you know, some. Let's not say that I was having a miserable time for all like 5 hours or so.
I read your review. I know you weren't having a miserable time.
No, certainly. When it was working for me, it was pretty good. It just didn't click a whole lot. And yeah, Trials Fusion is also looking quite good, but just go and read the preview of that, so you can learn all about the AI tutorial lady who wants to kiss you, which is quite strange and not what you'd expect from a Trials game necessarily. But there we go. Yeah. What have we had on the site recently, everyone? Well, we've had that, and we've had the Cloudbuilt review, and we've had a Smite article.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess all of that really.
You'd think we'd have had something about Diablo by now, but no. We had
look, we don't do shit half-assed here, Tim. Really.
We've had an Age of Wonders 3 review.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I have read of that. Nice in-depth Age of Wonders 3 review, 2 pages. And
I think
coming up,
that's most of what we've had.
yeah, that is pretty much coming up. Other things,
Stuff.
probably.
Stuff.
Things. Well, the interview obviously with the other VR guys. That'll be when they get back. That'll be appearing.
I will be playing Shannon Tweed's Attack of the Groupies. And,
obviously,
if it's either really good or really bad, I'll probably write something about it.
I've got Starpoint Gemini 2 on early access, which I've been meaning to play, which I'll do so and probably do a bit of a early access preview of that.
We will have a Diablo 3, and David's also shooting off to see Van Helsing 2 next week, is it? 4th, end of this week. Tomorrow. Next day.
Week, yeah.
What?
Whatever.
It'll be
the 4th is Friday.
Yeah,
Friday.
Yeah, so he's off on Friday for a few days, and he'll be basically eating, drinking, and being merry with Neocore, and hopefully getting some hands-on time as well, which will be
content on that game totally won't be at all biased, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, because he will not be reviewing it.
Sneaky.
Because that's the way we roll.
We don't get swayed by meals. I mean, come on.
No, it takes a lot more to buy me than a meal.
The last time I went to an event, I had some sandwiches, which were alright. And then in the evening, I think they took us out to a Mexican, and then it was a burrito and stuff, which was also alright. But I'm not going to give out a good score because someone gave me a burrito, no matter how nice that burrito is.
If you are one of those people in the public who thinks that games journalists get bribed by free T-shirts and free food and so on, I think you need to examine your own priorities more than anything.
If you really like T-shirts, maybe. But
if you can be bribed by T-shirts and sandwiches, there is probably something slightly wrong with your ethics.
Yeah, a little bit. Quite a low barrier. You should hold out for a big sack of cash. I mean, come on, what's wrong with you?
Tim, you've been playing something else this week, just briefly. Elder Scrolls Online. You're freaking loving that, aren't you?
No. In fairness, I'm actually enjoying it more than I did in the beta, but I don't know why. I haven't played it enough yet. It might be because I'm playing a less annoying faction or a less annoying class, or it might just be that it's been polished up a bit, or there's all sorts of possibilities. My opinion hasn't massively changed. It still feels very much like another MMO.
Yeah, the embargo I think lifts on that for reviews on the 5th or something like that. But if you're expecting to find a review on IncGamers for it when the embargo lifts, think again. It's not going to happen.
I might have some sort of Final Fantasy-esque diary thing up, kind of detailing my current thoughts. We might do a few articles over the coming weeks.
Do some fan fiction, Tim.
No.
Okay.
I don't write fan fiction, Peter.
The review code email was quite interesting in the sense that it offered an embargo. Can we talk about this? Yeah, well, I'm going to now. It offered an embargo date, but effectively said you won't be able to review it properly by that date. So anyone who has reviewed the game by that date is, by the publicist's own admission, not able to review it properly. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
When you're seeing those reviews everywhere on the 5th. Anyway. It's an MMO, you could have put those pieces together yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah, so you're going to see a couple of 9 out of 10s and 8 out of 10s proclaiming it as a really good MMO. You're going to see a couple of 9 out of 10s and 8 out of 10s proclaiming it as something genre-changing, and you're going to see probably a few 4s to 6s from people going, it doesn't do anything new, and this isn't what I wanted from the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
So therefore we're giving it a 7.
Yeah. Everything gets
not
a 7. Shannon Tweed's Attack of the Groupies is getting a 7. I haven't even played it yet.
I know, he just read the description. The description itself gets a 7.
The description was worth a 10, but the artwork was worth a 4, so overall...
It evens out.
Yeah.
Exactly. 7 is just, the default score.
Yep.
On shit websites.
I think in protest of Oculus and Facebook, you should not like us on Facebook this week, but do follow us on Twitter anyway.
Peter, Paul's face when you said that.
It's counter-marketing, Paul. It's the new thing. You tell people not to do something, and they'll be like, oh, why? Why? Is there something special when I sign up to Facebook? I'm going to have to do it now.
Peter, the fact that you managed to use the term counter-marketing in a sentence without wincing, I've lost so much respect for you.
Is that a real term? I thought
I don't know.
I don't know, but
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it sounds like the sort of bullshit that they would come out with.
Yeah, you're right, it does.
All you were missing was the word paradigm.
Paradigm, yes.
Yeah.
Let's synergize.
Visceral.
With I said visceral earlier in the podcast, I think, but I think I got away with it.
Shit, I missed that.
Yeah.
But you can get away with it if either A, you use it properly, or B, you're talking about the game developer.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, that's enough podcast for now. We'll have another one next week where I'll be back in my desktop location. That'll be exciting for everyone. Until then, goodbye.
Bye.